You're listening to the Freedom is Served podcast with me, Steph Ward. Subscribe for more. Welcome to Freedom is Served. I'm here with Meg Batchelor from Focus PT. Hi, Meg. Welcome.
Hi, Steph. Thanks for having me on.
It is great to have you here. We recently connected and I wanted to pick your brains about how you see the fitness industry differently to the norm. Can you just enlighten us about what your business is and what it is you do? And then we'll get into how you can kind of break those societal norms and the freedom that you're creating for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the fitness industry for about 17 years now, and I've done various different roles. So I came through quite a traditional route. Perhaps I did a little bit more than most in terms of my qualifications because I decided to go and study a degree in fitness and personal training. So typically speaking, as a personal trainer, you can qualify in like a 6-week online course.
Okay.
But for me, the experience of going through university was also something I wanted to do. So I kind of combined the two things.
Yeah.
And so I've had experience. I then, got myself started at the bottom of the ladder. I was front of house, so on reception at LA Fitness. That doesn't even exist anymore.
I remember LA Fitness actually.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, it goes quite well with your purple there. But LA Fitness was one of a lot of gyms that now no longer exists because they're kind of middle of the road in terms of what they used to do in their servicing and their pricing. So the fitness world has kind of almost polarized a little bit to you're either super cheap, 24-hour access, purely access to equipment alone. So your pure
Okay.
gyms, your JDs, your the gym
Yeah.
group. And then you've got your luxury experience-based gyms like your David Lloyd's, your Ballantynes, and things like that, where people are paying a premium for the experience that they have. And yet it's actually still just access to equipment and facilities. It's just that those facilities are a little bit nicer.
Okay.
So actually where we come in is that we aren't either of those things. We're not access to equipment, we're access to coaching. But the reason that I came to that was that I've been through those roles. So I did the LA Fitnesses and things which have been squeezed out of the middle now. And I did work at David Lloyd for a few years. So I experienced kind of that end of the spectrum as well. But even inside of David Lloyd, where you're paying extra for that premium, so as a customer, I'm choosing experience over price.
Yeah.
I'm still not getting the support that I
Okay.
need, that the majority of people need. So they're after a coach, they're after accountability, they're after someone to hold their hand and guide them through it. And at the end of the day, they both end up with the same outcome: is that the majority, perhaps less of a majority with your David Lloyd's, because people don't like to pay for something that they're not using when it's a bigger premium. But
Yeah.
most gym memberships rely on a model of, if we get enough people paying the fees, we're relying on a big chunk of them never coming. And actually,
Okay.
that whole model would fall apart. If actually all of a gym's members started using it, they wouldn't actually be able to function. So they
Because they
rely
can't.
on a certain percentage never coming.
Is that because they
Um,
can't facilitate that many people, but they
they
have to have
can't,
that
no.
many people?
No, so it's a little bit like an aeroplane overselling its seats and
Okay.
knowing that some people are going to drop out and not show up. And
Yeah.
then every now and again they get caught out and they've got too many bums for seats, sort of thing. Only
Got
it's a
it.
much bigger scale in gym memberships because they
Yeah.
know that they'll have all of their KPIs and stats, and they'll go 20% of these people will never ever walk in here. Another 20% might only use it once or twice a month. And there's actually a really small proportion that actually use it the amount that we as a fitness industry would recommend, which is about 3 times per week consistently. So I came up through those models and I was that one-to-one personal trainer in David Lloyd for a few years. But I felt quite strongly that the people who needed my kind of support, my coaching and support, are those people who either have the membership and never go, or don't have the membership at all because they find it too intimidating. There's too much
Yeah.
friction. Friction can come in many different forms, but a big one for people is just even the idea of walking into these big warehouse gyms
Okay.
with banks of machines, and not knowing what to do and things. So actually, that's when I took myself out of a gym environment and started training people from home.
Okay. Yeah.
At the same time, I was also getting involved in competitive powerlifting. So really building a passion and knowledge for strength and empowerment through strength and being stronger, meeting all these wonderful people who were also all about what can fitness help me to do rather than
Yes.
what does fitness make me look like.
And that's where you're
And
trying to break the norm, right? With the mindset
absolutely,
around what the purpose of staying fit is. I
yes.
think we could both agree society says that if you're an avid goer of the gym, you should have a six pack and you should look a certain way and you've got to have all the, the fashionable clothes for the gym. And it's quite a fashion statement now, I find. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, and I think that is a massive contributory factor to that big group of people that I've talked about that never want to step foot in a gym because
Okay.
they feel so removed from the fitness models that they see on the front of magazines or the stars that you see in a movie, then
Yeah.
who also have this is my 10-week crush that got me into shape for my part in this Avengers movie sort of thing. But actually, the stars are starting to come out more on things like chat shows and say, I was really miserable during that period. That was so tough. My mood was low.
Sure.
I was cold all the time. I couldn't even focus. I mean, I have friends of mine who compete in things like physique competitions where, again, the picture of someone on a physique stage where they're absolutely ripped and you can see every bump of every muscle,
Yeah.
they are quite commonly ill. They're picking up every single bug there is. They are massively dehydrated. So the techniques you use to get that really, and the same thing will be the case for anyone on the front cover of a magazine, they will have intentionally dehydrated themselves to pull the skin taut across the
Yeah.
muscles. They are actually at quite a low in terms of their fitness and well-being, but they look the way that people think is normal now
So
because
it's
we've been
smoke and
conditioned.
mirrors then.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is not wellness, it's not well-being, it's
Yeah.
purely aesthetics. And this is, as a child of the sort of 90s and noughties, we were very conditioned by the magazines with the circles around the cellulite, or
Yeah.
even like I've seen clips now going back to, like Live and Kicking or what TGI Friday sort of thing, where celebs would go on and particularly women, they would openly talk about their weight, their size, their shape, and fitting into that cookie cutter thing. And yet we don't fit into a cookie cutter image. We're all built in different shapes and sizes. Um, so for me, fitness, trying to draw fitness away from how I look and move it more towards how I feel, what I can do, is what I'm really, really passionate about. But it is tough, really, getting that message out there because it's so embedded in people's
Yeah.
psyche that fitness is about being smaller, and fitness is about, or particularly for women, fitness is about being smaller. For men, fitness is about having big arms, and and so trying to allow people the confidence to go, actually, I don't care what the scales say, I just want to be fit and well.
Yeah.
um, and finding the balance of that message, because in the past we've actually, in my opinion, sometimes gone too far the other way, and sort of body positivity, the idea of body positivity is good, but you
Yes.
cannot ignore what excess amounts of body fat does to your health.
Yeah,
So
exactly. There's a fine line between health and, wellness or just embracing anything. If that's then advocating for unhealthy the other way,
yes,
there's a line, isn't there? And we've got to find that middle ground. How do you try and get your message to people then to try and free them from what everybody else, because it is really what everybody else thinks. It's probably not what that person thinks. Your ideal client, who's somebody who probably hates the idea of going to the gym because they feel overwhelmed or they feel judged.
yeah.
How do we get that message to them to say, look, it's okay. There are safe spaces out there for people where you can be free to be yourself. And you can also, acknowledge that you might not want to go on a stage and have a six pack. That doesn't mean you're not entitled to have a healthy, vitality filled life that means the gym can be part of it.
I think at the core of our messaging, and it's why, I've done a couple of series of a podcast of mine called Freedom Through Fitness.
Yeah.
At the core of our messaging is that fitness should be about the freedom of choice that it gives you. It's
100%.
why a lot of what we do is we focus on over 40s. I mean, I'm only sort of 36 myself, but I focus on over 40s fitness because I feel that people who are over 40 generally tend to, their goals align a little bit more with our ethos of fitness. So,
Okay.
when you're in your 20s and 30s, and as much as it sounds quite basic to say, we're evolutionarily programmed to be looking for a partner in
Okay.
our 20s and 30s. Our
Yeah.
hormones are telling us to do it. Our brain is telling us to fit in with the tribe. And so the gym for people in their 20s and 30s, sometimes it can almost feel like a breeding ground. It's like a lot of
Okay.
posturing, a lot of peacocking. This
Yeah.
is where all of the different little outfits come in. But also, our bodies feel pretty bulletproof. Like we can do whatever, we can eat whatever in a lot of
Yeah.
cases, and we can do whatever, and we don't really feel like we're vulnerable. As people hit sort of their 40s, 50s, 60s, perhaps for women, they're noticing perimenopausal symptoms, their body is changing. For everybody, but perhaps more so for the men, they loved sports in their 20s and 30s, and they used to be able to just pelt around a field and knock into their mates, and they would just bounce off and crack on. Now
Okay.
they're finding they go and play five-a-side and they pull a hammy and they're out for a couple of weeks, or they go to go on a hike or something, and again these niggles and these injuries are creeping in, and they're like, I don't get it, I'm still the same up here in my head,
Yes.
but my body can't quite hang on. So this their version of fitness starts to change, and they
Okay.
start to realize that it's about, I want to stay resilient so that I can do the things that I love. Because I appreciate, as a personal trainer, we're the weirdos. Like, we're the minority that absolutely love going to the gym. So I have to, going back to your question, like, how do you get that message out there? I need to put myself in the psyche of someone who I'm training to get an outcome outside of the gym. So
Okay.
I almost say to people, I'm borrowing 3 a week of your really valuable hours, but
Hmm.
I promise that with my expertise, I'm going to leverage those 3 hours a week to get you the best possible outcome that will positively impact all of the other hours of your week.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're not here to compete. We're not here to get shredded. What I'm here to do is I'm going to leverage my knowledge, my expertise, and my relationship with you to get the best possible outcome, so that you can play with your kids without being out of breath, so you can get back to playing five-a-side again. And it's that's how I tailor my message when we're reaching out to the market, and that's what people resonate so strongly with.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to have a pretty thick skin because we do get pushed back against it.
Okay.
Like, I myself, I'm not like a size 8. I'm not what a lot of people would think of as a personal trainer in terms of how I look. But that actually helps me resonate with people better, because suddenly they actually feel like, and also when I'm featuring our clients in their videos, it's not a load of fitness models that I've hired in for an advert, which is so
Yeah.
much of what the fitness industry is.
Yeah.
It's real people who are doing really impressive stuff because they've committed to their health and their fitness. And so people resonate so much with that. So the business angle of it is that I understand, and I'm magnetizing the people who are our tribe, you know,
Yes.
and then the positive physical impacts, sure, but the mental impact of people feeling comfortable doing something that is very uncomfortable. Exercise
Yeah.
is not, it's sweaty and it's hard and you feel quite vulnerable. You're not at your best. But if you're around other people who get that, who
Yeah.
also have kids that got them up at 6 a.m., who also have a stressful life and business, who also need to power down when they exercise, then that's why that messaging works really well. It only works to a small section of the market because we're
Yeah.
trying to change people's mindsets, but it really works for that section of the market.
But you live congruently by your messaging. It's very, very clear that, your attitude towards the gym and your mindset towards health and fitness is very congruent with the people that you want to help and how you want to help them. And I think, it's so hard to, and it is hard. I've been to all the gyms that you've mentioned. Over the years, I've been, to the 24/7 pure gyms where you just go and do your own thing. And I've also been, to a David Lloyd and had PT and, all these things. I've had home PT and I've tried it all. I am the typical person of like, right, okay, get into the gym and then it falls off, and then you don't do it for a while and then you do something else or, and I want to be fit and healthy. And, as a mum of a young son as well, I want to be able to, run around after him long into his childhood, not just at the moment when, I'm a bit younger in my 30s. But how do you kind of keep that motivation up? Because the only way I've ever known, and I'm sure many people will be the same, is because in your mind, the gym equals changing your appearance. Like that is the only way we ever know. I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. I want to eat healthy. But I understand that 80% of what I eat controls my weight, not the gym. So it's difficult then sometimes to find that freedom of, okay, I want to be healthy, but actually I feel healthy because I'm not overweight, but that's controlled by food. So where's the motivation to exercise? And I'm actually struggling with that at the moment. Like the motivation to exercise is, we're all busy. We're all, if you've got kids or you own a business or anything like that, we're all busy. But it's that mindset shift that I'm looking for, to find the freedom of, okay, it's all right to not have to commit to going to the gym 3 times a week, but actually that doesn't mean you don't have to go at all. I mean,
Yeah.
have you got advice for people who are in a similar position where they are really trying to free themselves from thinking, I'm going to the gym because I want to change my appearance?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many really important things that you've raised there. So number one, something that people will the mental place that people will often be when they get to me is they'll be pretty low because they have associated trying lots of different things with failure. But as you
Okay.
know, and I know you're a really driven person, you're not failing until you stop trying.
Yes.
And I've got a lot of respect for people who've tried so many different things. They're almost embarrassed to say, oh, I bought that bit of kit from the middle aisle at Lidl and then it sat in the corner and it got dusty, or I'm hanging my laundry off of the treadmill now, and oh, I've had gym memberships everywhere but I failed and I failed and failed. And I'll straight away say, I've got huge respect because you keep trying. You're
Yeah.
trying to find the thing that works for you. But at the end of the day, the single biggest piece of advice that I can give people is you have to love the journey to get the outcome.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then everybody will fall off the wagon sometimes. This life is busy. Maybe you get the flu, maybe you go on holiday, maybe your kid's off school.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a reason that your pattern gets interrupted. The thing that makes the difference between a habit that succeeds and a habit that keeps falling off
Yeah.
is that you need to want to get back on the wagon. You need to want to get back on there. So if you are not enjoying the journey, then when you fall off the wagon, which everybody will do sometimes, you'll quite happily sit there and wave it off into the distance because you don't want to get back onto it.
Yeah.
So if the method that you're using feels like there's too much friction, maybe you are like dragging yourself out of bed at 5 every day when genuinely, biologically, your body is screaming, please, I need more sleep. This isn't the right
Snooze the
time of day
alarm.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, absolutely. Then you need to find another way. Or if the workout that you're doing, you loathe it so much that you dread the days when you're going training, that you need to find another way. Or
Yeah.
you feel so isolated that you feel lonely in a gym environment, and again you dread going, you need to find another way, because
Okay.
if you cannot find a place where you enjoy the journey, then you
Mhm.
will find yourself continually falling off the wagon.
Okay.
So maybe that's because you're not getting the result that you want. Maybe that's because you feel, like I say, isolated, or that it's just too tough. We need to find a way to do that. So everything that we do as a business, we're trying to meet those 3 things. We want to get you the best possible result, the easiest way, and the way that a lot of people forget, it needs to be fun.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the fun will come down to the people that you are with, whether
Okay.
that's the coach or what we do is small group personal training. Going back to the other point you made, that I know that I want to be exercising for well-being, but my brain keeps pulling me back to how I look.
Yeah.
So talking about what I said before, if you're enjoying the journey, you will get to the place that you want to in terms of your result.
Sure.
But what you need to accept is a slower progress towards the goal that sticks is better than a faster progress towards the goal that you keep falling off of and starting again.
Yeah.
And that is often really a hard thing to accept, because we just want to get out of this place of pain. So as a coach, we've got two key parts. We've got the things we don't want about the now. That's what
Yeah.
we'd also call pain points. We've got the things that we want about the goal that's over there. That's like your gain points. So we can
Sure.
also call it push and pull factors. If we're too busy living in the pain of now, we just want to get out as quickly as possible. So funnily enough, we'll cause ourselves more pain just in the
Okay.
hope of getting out of there. Whether
Yeah.
that is crash dieting, whether that is excessive amounts of cardio, because we know that that burns the most calories in an hour, which, by the way, let's just set that to one side. So we will cause ourselves more pain, because it's almost, and it then becomes almost like self-flagellation. I'm punishing myself for where I'm at now,
Yeah.
like picking at the wound just because I want to get out of it. Instead, if we as coaches can start reframing your mindset to the gain, like, how will I feel when I get there? A question I really often ask people when I'm having a consultation: what does success look like in 6 months' time, and how does that feel? So if you came to me and you said, oh, I've got a goal, I want to get to, I don't know, 8 stone or something like that, I will always, my very first question will be, is that a weight you feel healthy and happy at? Because as long as we look at the scales alone, you'll never really be happy, because
Yeah.
it's just a number.
No,
Is
I
that a
get
weight you
that.
feel healthy and happy at? That's the
Yeah.
big question. And what will that do for you? Why does it matter? If you tell me, I want to get there because I want to be healthy for my little one, okay, but what does that look like? Oh, it means I can pick him up and throw him around, and okay. So do you think being a little bit stronger is going to help you do that? Yes. If you were stronger but you were 8.5 stone, would you still be happy? Probably yes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you had everything you wanted but the weight wasn't right, who gives a crap,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I don't even weigh myself now.
Yeah.
I've kind of like, I'm sure as many people have, and we're obviously a similar age within a few years, that we have just grown up with, pop stars, celebrities, whatever it is, and
Mm.
that's the way you've got to look, and you've got to have the fashion, and you've got to have this, and you've got to have that. And I'm totally beyond that. Like, I don't weigh myself. I don't, but so interestingly, we had a very brief conversation, and I ran Manchester Marathon last April, and it was horrendous. Like, the worst, most painful thing I've ever done in my whole life. However, my mindset going into it was that I cannot fail, because even if I have to crawl over the line, and I had been injured in training, so I knew it wasn't going to be, an amazing result or anything like that. But I did it, and I wanted to do it. Um, and that killed. I was running really, really well, and it killed my love of running. And I've
Mm.
really struggled to get back into it. And I guess when I have, infrequently been to running club or anything like that, I can still run. It hasn't knocked my fitness, which in the opposite way then doesn't give me the motivation, because I still feel like, oh, well, I've got it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because you have to be so strong in your mind to do, to push to those goals and those things. I found it really hard to set goals because I don't know how to measure. Because before it was always for something quite extreme, like a marathon, or, looking a certain way or losing so much weight. And now I don't measure things because I don't want that comparison of what I think it should be. I find it really hard to measure what healthy would look like, what strong would feel like, because there is no, it kind of has erased the goal factor for me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that with most people, or is that just like because I am all or nothing predominantly? I can be very all or nothing. And I guess that's, one of those things that I freed my mind totally from caring about what the scales say, how far I can run or how quickly I can run, and those kind of things. I freed myself from those stats of being, in the system of, it's just data.
Mm.
But it has definitely, it's made it a bit harder to actually go, okay, well, I have freed myself from that. That feels great. Now I care about, do I feel healthy? Do I feel I'm eating the right things? How do I look and feel? But then there doesn't seem to be the motivation to do anything outside of that because everything's just okay.
Hmm. I think so. We go back to the statement for sort of freedom through fitness. We go back to this idea of push factors versus pull factors,
Okay.
and also I'm going to bring in qualitative versus quantitative data. So this is where it starts to sound a little bit sciencey, but actually, what we do as coaches is both having compassion and empathy and understanding how we implement the science, but the result is often underpinned in science, and that's really important for us to be able to apply that.
Yeah.
So when we talk about numbers, we're talking about quantitative data, something that I can write on a scale
Yeah.
of 1 to 10, something that I can tick off and mark off. So that's when you're very outcome driven. There's a
Yeah.
number I want to get to. Even in basic training as PTs, you must know what a SMART goal is. And every time someone has a goal, you need to apply the SMART principle. Is it specific? Is it measurable?
Yeah.
But actually, in real life, we need a combination of quantitative and qualitative data. So we're talking about this idea of learning to have a positive relationship and love the journey. That's
Yes.
very, very much qualitative, which can be a little bit uncomfortable when you're quite results driven, you're a driven person. So it's where a coach can come in that can almost help you to feel free enough to say, actually, the goal is just to consistently train 3 times a week. So that's kind of, it's a number.
Yeah.
I want to train 3 times a week, every week for a year. Okay, so maybe one week
Yeah.
it's 4 times, maybe the next time it's 2 times. I'm going to get 156 sessions in this year. So it,
Yeah.
it, it sort of tickles that I need a number side of
Okay.
you, but it's quite process driven. And
Yeah.
then actually freeing yourself from going, but I don't care what those sessions are. I just
Okay.
want to regularly train 3 times a week because I know that 156 sessions across a year equals well-being.
Yeah, it's going to make a big difference overall, even though the goal is not necessarily a look or a weight or
Yeah.
whatever that may be.
It's allowing yourself to say, I just want to be healthy, and this number is something that equates healthy for me. And
Okay.
then you can refine over time. And then again, working with a coach really helps that. So maybe you're finding you're getting your 3 week, but as you were mentioning before, I'm feeling a little bit detached from running. I'm not really as focused on it as I was. So we find a different version of the goal. So it could be maybe only one of your sessions per week is running.
Uh-huh.
But you intentionally say, what is the outcome that I want from it? Actually, it's not a PB5K time.
Yeah.
It's that the goal of that session is to refresh my mind so that I can get more out of my work in the afternoon. That's my
Hmm.
goal. So
Okay.
so now I, as your coach, go, okay, what makes your mind more refreshed? A treadmill run or a park run? Park run, probably.
Yeah.
So then we go, okay, the goal is that come rain or shine, I'm going to get outside because at the end of the day, you're going to get scruffy when you run anyway. It doesn't matter if it's raining.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what brings you joy in that run? Actually, there's a favorite podcast to listen to, or there's favorite music, or actually, I work really well if I've got nothing in my ears because I need a break from the noise of
Yeah.
life. Okay, so that's how we funnel your goal. We don't have to say specific, measurable, all of those things. We have to say, what's the outcome we want? I want to enjoy exercise. What's one
Yes.
of the things I like? I like run. I used to like running. What gives you joy? Being in the open air, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how we sort of rejig things. And like I say, we have to appreciate that your mind has this thing it needs tickling, which is this, I need a number that I'm
Okay.
working to. My number is I go running once a week, but we
Yeah.
don't apply any other numbers to speed. We apply more experiential stuff. So that's how we start being a bit smarter about how we apply your goals.
That's amazing. I mean, even just saying that now, like in this moment, I feel like, okay, well, that sounds more achievable. But in fact, it sounds like it's purposeful rather than, well, I could go running or I could not because, I've given myself this freedom of I don't care about numbers on the scale and I don't care about how fast I can run. And that does feel freeing. Like that is great
Mm.
place to be in. But it also, I don't want it to be to the detriment of me going, well, okay, well, I don't care about exercise because I definitely do. But I care about well-being more. And I think that's what we're saying, that, you can give yourself that freedom of, it doesn't have to be stats driven all the time, but it doesn't mean that you don't necessarily need to put something into place to just actually hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. And if you want science, there's still even science between it. With a low intensity run is great at improving your cardiac output. So, if the science helps, sometimes using a heart rate monitor can be really helpful. And actually you make it rule, my heart rate can't go above a certain amount because that takes me above my aerobic threshold. And therefore I'm not building my aerobic capacity. And that for me in the past has been a really freeing thing, because I'm like, sometimes I might have to walk up a hill to keep my heart rate down, but that's okay, because that's the goal. I'm going to build my aerobic capacity this way. So I like to speak about exercises like fruit and veg. You know how many times you've been told you need variety, you need different types of exercise, and there's value in different micronutrients in the veg, and there's value in different gears that you put your body through. I think people think every session needs to leave you gasping for air and everything aching to be good, but it's just not the case, and science is there to back it up. So again, that helps you to free that data-driven mind. Goes, actually, there's scientific evidence that I will benefit from keeping my heart rate between these two zones. That actually feels quite nice. I can breathe enough to look up and see the trees and birds around me, which makes it a more enjoyable experience. So as a coach, it's my job to go, okay, what's going to motivate you to actually follow through on this plan? Is it the softly approach of, this is going to be great for my mental health? Or is it actually there is rules and science and proof that this is good for you? And that's my job as a coach. Again, what sort of benefits do I present to you to get you to actually do this and go through with that?
That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Meg. I just want to get a final thought from you. Anybody who has ever been in that position where they either go to the gym for the wrong reasons, they don't feel that it's congruent with what they want to do, or they're looking to go to the gym, but they are intimidated by, the surroundings of what a gym should be in societal norms. Like, have you just got kind of one piece of advice that they could take away from this to go, actually, I'm just going to do it for, the freedom of my wellness rather than what everybody else has expectations of?
Give yourself permission to truly believe the statement that if I don't enjoy this, it won't work. It's not about the result. It's about loving the journey. When you find a way to love the journey, then the result will come. It doesn't matter if it doesn't come as quickly as you like, because you know from experience that if you go fast, you fall off. So give yourself permission to go, okay, how will I enjoy the journey? And what elements can I put in place to make that happen? Then you'll find the result comes.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Meg. It has been amazing to catch up with you, and we will be talking to you again, I'm sure, in the future. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. You're listening to the Freedom is Served podcast with me, Steph Ward. Subscribe for more.